This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Bev's Video Kingdom is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised.
Bev's Video Kingdom really is brought to you by...
What the fuck?
What's up, dude?
One of my renters broke the toilet again. That dude takes giant shits. Now I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Why don't you hire a property management company or something to take care of that stuff?
Because they suck, and they take 10%.
You know, our dude Hank owns and manages Heritage Realty Partners. I think he said he only charges 5%, and he visits each property at least once a month.
That's right. He's always posting beers from the road. You have his number?
Actually, I do. His personal number is 805-451-5734.
Perfect. Now he can deal with my renter's big shits.
Heritage Realty Partners.
For all your property management and investment needs.
This episode of Bev's Video Kingdom is brought to you by Vegas, baby. Daycare. Is that 3-month-old holding you back from a wild night of hookers and hijinks? Is your 2-year-old an absolute cooler at the craps table? Are the twin newborns keeping you from dropping $2,000 on a couple pieces of sushi at that Michelin star restaurant? Well, your prayers have been answered with Vegas, baby. Daycare. Just push that little fun-killing monster out the car as you drive by on your way to the strip, and we have a few semi-qualified folks who will watch over your child as you live it up Vegas style. No need for paperwork, no need to tell us how long your bender will last. Hell, don't even worry about mentioning their allergies. I mean, who has time for that with the dazzling lights of Vegas calling your name? So come on out to Vegas Baby Daycare and leave your troubles behind.
Who has time for allergies?
I love the like thought that your 2-year-old's a cooler
at the table.
Got him on your front pack. You did it again. You always hit on fucking 12.
Let's start this thing. Woo!
What's up, Bev's Video Kingdom? Thanks for listening. We are here to talk about just an absolute juggernaut of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Juggernaut?
Brad, what are you doing to your mic?
There's a bug on it.
I've got 2 different bugs.
Brad's gently picking a bug off his mic, and I'm like, what symbol is that?
Got 2 different bugs.
That's 2. What are you little homies?
You don't like Juggernaut, or what's... Okay, so anyway.
They're gone.
We're doing the Hangover. And we've been kind of keeping this one, in the chamber a while, and it's time. So the Hangover, in case you're one of the 5 people that hasn't seen it, is a buddy bachelor party movie that takes place in Las Vegas. And the main premise, of course, is that we see them at the beginning of the night, then they wake up in just all manner of disarray, and we sort of they try to figure out what happened the night before.
Piece it together.
And what year did this come out, Nate?
2009. It's directed by Todd Phillips, released in the summer of 2009, and it had about a $35 million budget. It crushed that in its opening weekend. Almost 45 million in the opening weekend. Domestic gross was 277 million. Worldwide, 469 million.
Geez, so it did good worldwide, because I wonder if this movie
So
translates
crazy.
to...
Yeah.
So it I believe still is, and certainly at the time and for some time after, was the highest grossing rated R comedy of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the qualifiers rated R, right?
Rated R
right.
comedy,
Okay.
yeah. But I think that's kind of a special category, right?
Yeah.
Because, meaningful in the sense that there's a lot of comedies that are in the PG-13 range, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it draws a lot of comedies, right, rely on some of that youth audience or some of the older audience that might be put off a little bit by too much sort of whatever, what are the sort of grotesque things are that show in these.
You also inherently get some of like, you're going to go to the movies and bring your family and buy them tickets too, and then you wouldn't do this. Would be more like a date night movie.
Okay,
Total date night movie.
So I've had a chance to interact with Scott Budnick a bunch, who's was the executive producer on the movie and is close with Todd Phillips. And I heard him once talk about like why he thought this was the highest grossing R-rated movie, and his claim was specifically because it was this enormous date movie. And his sort of he sort of said, I don't know if it was based on focus groups or what, but he said all the guys wanted to see it because like they want to like relive their most fun bachelor parties, but all the women wanted to see it because they felt like it was a sneak peek.
They want to know.
They finally were like, we get to see what actually happens in these bachelor parties. And so for whatever reason, like the mix of things, and obviously it has Bradley Cooper is just incredibly handsome in this, like really good looking. It has sort of likable, funny stars. There's a baby getting carried around all the time. So I think there's a lot of elements to it, but this movie when it came out, and I think still 14 years later, is sort of a benchmark for R-rated comedies.
So am I wrong in thinking that like Galifianakis and Cooper like this like catapulted both of them?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And even Ed Helms, right? Like,
and Ed Helms too.
Yeah, like none of them had done the stuff that they're known for now.
Yeah.
I don't remember if Helms had showed up on the American Office yet. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think this was kind of a coming out party for a lot of people.
So Bradley Cooper had I looked at this. So he had a fair run. Like he was on Alias for a number of episodes. He obviously has the
Wet Hot American
Summer, which he has that, and then he has pretty long run where he doesn't have a ton of that's kind of like he's notable then, and then he fades. He obviously plays Sack in The Wedding Crashers,
Yep.
but all kind of supporting specific, really narrow parts. Alias less so as a TV show, but I mean, still, not like big screen fame. And then he just becomes like the biggest star in Hollywood, right? Or sort of like in that echelon.
Big fucking.
Well, he becomes a leading man.
Yeah, he's a leading man, and obviously we know he's gone on to just like lead a bunch of stuff. He's got he directs and does great with Star is Born. So it's a transformative movie, and it spawns 2 more sequels, each of which makes hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Even though they're maybe not great, but like they're just such a huge draw. So what'd you guys think? When did you see it first? How many times have you seen it?
Yeah. I will definitely put this in top 10, probably top 5 in that list of movie theater experiences. Like,
oh really?
Being in the theater, like other ones like Wayne's World and Something About Mary. It's like definitely in that group of holy shit, it was fun. People just laughing their asses off all around you and just getting caught up in it. And I remember watching this and just think it was the funniest fucking movie I had ever seen at the time. And I hadn't watched the whole thing from start to finish in a long time until this rewatch for this pod. And I wasn't sure if it, just because I've seen it enough times over the years, and if it was going to hold up. And God, I laughed a lot. Again, it still holds up. It's still funny. It's easily one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here comes Brad.
There's 2 movies that I kind of accidentally saw on opening night and was so happy that I did. The first one was Half Baked, and that was just a decision while smoking out of a Pepsi can.
You saw that in the theater? Oh, that's awesome.
No, and I said opening night too.
Yeah.
So opening night in the theater. And oh my God, it was the theater was so damn high. It was the best. Anyway, and then the second, and I know this for a fact, my wife and I went out on a little dinner date with my college roommate and his wife, and we were eating dinner, and we were like, what should we do after? Like, I don't know, maybe catch a movie or something. And I started looking at like what's coming out, and I was like, there's this movie, The Hangover. I remember seeing like a preview of it and not really knowing much about it. It's like, it's a comedy. I don't know. Sounds kind of funny, like it's a Vegas thing, and we're like, oh, screw it, let's go. And we went opening night, and it wasn't like this was like some like must see, like everybody's like, oh, you got to go be ready for a Hangover. Like it was a pretty packed theater, and we sat down and had no clue what we were in for, and just laughing our asses off the entire time with no expectations, no real even idea what the movie was going to be about, and it just blew our minds. And I remember just leaving that theater and just telling everybody I could ever talk to was just like, if you don't go see The Hangover, you're an idiot. Like, this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
I forgot that so when I went into it, I didn't really know a lot about the movie itself, but I knew Zach Galifianakis. I had seen his comedy. I'd caught him late night on Conan one time, and I had the old original TiVo thing,
yeah.
and we watched this, basically his skit, his bit on Conan one time. We'd watch that over and over and over again, and I go, who is this guy? He's hilarious. And so I was a fan of his from the beginning, and I remember going into that going, dude, this guy's hilarious, and almost being nervous that I was afraid that he was going to suck in the movie because I loved him so much, and being so happy when he just absolutely just destroyed.
He takes over the movie.
Oh,
it becomes his movie.
Without him, yeah. So anyway.
So I have controversial feelings about this movie. I'll say the first thing I'll say is that upon rewatch, I really, really liked it. Like, it was really funny. My wife and I watched it maybe, like, I didn't even watch it in prep for the podcast. Before I even knew that we were going to do it, we had just watched it. So we watched it maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And we laughed. We laughed our asses off. But I saw it late in the theater run, and I think it was a perfect example of, like, it was really hyped to me. And like Brad said, like, you're an idiot if you don't go to see this movie. You know what I mean? Like, everybody had told me that's going to be so funny. It's going to be so great. And I left the theater with two thoughts. One was that I didn't think it was as good as I thought it was going to be. I really was prepared for the funniest movie I'd ever seen. And it was funny, and I laughed, and it just wasn't like the funniest movie that I had ever seen, and I was like a little bit disappointed. But the second thing that I walked out with, as to Scott's point, was that fucking Zach Galifianakis is just so goddamn funny. Like, and I sort of had this, like, you take Galifianakis out of this movie, and it's just like not even a good movie. Yeah. Which, I mean, whatever. Upon rewatch, it was really good, but man, I could not escape. I had this, like, and I've had it, and I've even talked about it on the podcast before. I was mad at the formula of the movie. The fact that they don't show what happens during the night after the rooftop scene, it upsets me. Like, and at the time, I remember being really upset and being like, this could have been such an epic movie if they really show all the stuff that goes on. I understand that's the formula of the movie. You're not supposed to see it. They kind of go back. The Polaroids at the end are cool, but I don't know. I just couldn't shake the feeling that, like, I want all of it. I want it to be a 4-hour movie and we get the whole night and then the fucking hangover part.
So supposedly the whole way the writers sold it, because they sold it, the idea, before they sold the script. I think they bought the rights to basically the spec script. And it was precisely because they were like, so we have this idea for this movie where it's like a Vegas bachelor party movie, except unlike all the ones you've seen. Right.
That's the thing that makes it different.
Right. And so, like, they make this movie specifically because they don't show you. And I'm not sure, right? Like, so on the one hand, it looks so fun, but on the other, it's like, we've seen those movies.
Yep, I agree.
And how much does it, like, it's one of these things where it's like, if you let your imagination with a little tickle, you know, the pictures and things, and like the little bit of recount, you let that like run wild. Was that what makes this?
I think it might. Yeah. The movie I want is probably too over the top and ridiculous, and you're like, that was kind of dumb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying.
That's a good discussion, though, is like, if they don't have the pictures at the end, are you even more disappointed? Like, if you don't even get that little taste of what happened?
I think that's it's one of the most important.
It's a great
credits in terms of like the experience of the movie, of any movie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, you've gone through this whole experience, and then when they start showing those pictures, and some of those pictures are so fucking obscene.
Yeah.
It is so
Ed
great.
Helms pulling the tooth out is just like, you see that, and you're just like,
he's like straining, and then the next one, he's just like
holding it up, like, blood everywhere. Oh,
so I think it would have been, what would have been sick is, you know how you go to like the Marvel movies, and if you hang through the credits, you get like the 5-minute like end scene or whatever. They should have done like maybe that Ed Helms scene where he rips his tooth out. Like, you wait through the credits, you see all the Polaroids, and then at the end you get like that scene or like something along those lines.
I can get on board with that.
Yeah,
I don't hate that.
That might be the happy medium in between.
So when I was thinking, you know, one of my favorite things to do is like really set back and be like, why do we love this movie, right? And I agree that there's sort of, it does well because of the combo
No, I want to know what you when you saw it. Like, do you remember seeing it early in the run?
So I can't remember specifically when I I definitely saw it in the theaters. I don't remember the experience of seeing it, except that I remember it felt like a watershed. I was like, this is now in my top 20, 30 movies. I don't know where, but it's like it was a totally different thing for me. It made it, the other thing we haven't even really referenced, and I don't know, like this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but it kind of overhauled how cool Vegas was. Like it was a big enough movie and enough people saw it that were of all sort of different stripes and income levels and ages that I think it was like it fired some people up going to Vegas again. And not that, I think Vegas obviously had resurged after a bit of a dip, I think like in the 90s, but it definitely kind of reintroduced people to what the resurgence had been in Vegas, I think, for a lot of people. And it sent a lot of people back to Vegas in a way that I think, probably I've seen some like research-ish on this about like earnings and different travel to Vegas and things. And you can see
it's like the ultimate, like, what is it? What do they call it? Like a
bump.
It's like a commercial for fucking fun bachelor party in Vegas, right?
Yeah,
even though you don't want it to quite go that fucking insane, but you're like, it could.
Was there a bump in like hotel suites being purchased after this?
So on this point, and we'll get into this in our sort of modified drinking with the director, but like it directly influenced the way that I experienced Vegas for the next 10 years. But what I was going to say is like, when I think about what I really love about the movie, I actually think that it's every relationship in the movie is a slight caricature of real relationships that you can imagine. Like, these people, right? So even in the extremes, like Galifianakis is weird. I mean, he's a really weird, like, in-law relative, but like, think about it. Somebody who's like the weird relative, who's like that you're like, that guy's weird. And like, it's okay. Like I kind of like him and I kind of feel annoyed by him. But like there's everybody's got kind of the like, the Alan character.
I wish I have an Alan, and I wish that he was like funny and cool, or funny and like hilarious.
I mean,
like
he's
Alan,
the movie version.
except mine kind of sucks.
Okay, but I'm saying though, like, but there's an Alan,
listen.
and like the interaction, like you know somebody that's in a relationship, or you have, I'm sorry to say, have been in a relationship yourself that is like Stu's. Like you have like somebody who's had a significant other who's just like terrible.
So
yeah,
yes.
That way. Right?
How terrible is Stu's fucking wife?
Oh, well, that's good. We're gonna get.
Are we gonna get into it? I hope so, because
I
have fucking thoughts. Like I hate her so much.
Yeah. And very specific. But I guess my point is like sort of like every one of the characters, you have a friend like this that's like good looking and a little over the top and a little bit sort of irreverent and kind of inappropriate, but anyway, I felt like when I really thought about what you connect with, it's not, I mean, it's fun. It's a fun ride because of the party, but it doesn't feel like it's something that's just so far out there, that's so over the top. It actually feels kind of relatable, totally. In a way that you keep coming back for.
Minus the Mike Tyson tiger thing.
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And probably like the Chinese mafia or whatever Mr. Chow type deal.
Well, I think the ride, like the experience, I think the movie and the experience itself is like otherworldly.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like the thing that drives the movie, which is the relationships that exist, you feel a familiarity there that I think makes it possible for you to put yourself in the place and then like suspend disbelief to go along on the ride.
And it's over the top. It's definitely over the top, but it's not like so insanely over the top. I mean, minus the tiger. But besides that, like, I mean,
right. Well, I'm sure we'll get into things, but yeah.
I want to reiterate, like on the rewatch, I remember thinking like, cause I hadn't watched it in years, and we watched it again. Because my wife really liked it and was like, "Let's watch it again. I want to watch it again." I was like, "All right, I don't really like this movie," and I left kind of thinking like, "Oh, you know what? It's fucking really funny and really good." So I don't know. I have conflicting feelings about it.
One interesting thing I did notice on this last rewatch is that, and I think it's just a matter of watching movies over time. You start to kind of like pick out things. There are a lot of lines that are added in voiceover Where it's
really?
like you can see it's like they're kind of like getting out of a scene, and then there's like one last line, and usually it's like pretty funny, and it's like kind of it's like I wonder how much like did they actually like add in post, like, oh, we can kind of butter up this joke a little bit, because I'm sure some of it was improv, and there was a lot of improv with it. I mean the amount of talent that's in this movie, but I wonder how much it was like they're thinking later, like, oh, that would be actually the funniest thing to say right there. And so you can see like it's like somebody off to the side and they're talking, but you don't see necessarily their mouth moving.
Right.
So I think they did
There
that. In quite a
had
few
to be
things.
like a significant amount of improv, though, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like
Yeah.
the scene when Galifianakis opens the car door and hits the baby with the car door. Like, there's no way that was in the script, and it might be one of the funniest things in the whole.
Well, and Chow jumping out naked was
Yeah.
it was his idea.
That's so.
He was
Jong.
like, he's like,
Wow.
this would be funnier if I were to jump out naked.
And Kim Jeong, who's a real doctor, had been doing. I think he'd been doing stand-up, but I don't
Stand-up.
think he was like
No.
an actor.
Yeah.
This was like his.
This is
like,
the first time I'd
Fucking
seen
great.
him.
So many like coming out kind
Yeah.
of people
Yeah.
like having their big break from this movie.
Dude, when he hit that fucking baby, he's like, I hurt my sunglasses.
Yeah.
He's like, what's wrong with your sunglasses, dick?
And they strap the baby in just like if.
Well, there's so many gags like you sort of forget. It's like any one of them would be like the centerpiece of a movie. The baby, the tiger, and Mike Tyson. The whole scene with the cops.
Yeah.
Like every one of those is just like powerhouse comedy.
well,
and
him-
they're all in the same.
Him doing the jerk off motion with the baby at the table. Yeah. Probably what I laughed at. I mean,
He's like, look at him.
he's jacking his little weenus. So dumb.
I had texted you guys about an article that I had seen because I was looking up a little bit of research, and I always like to find those articles that are like this movie 10 years later or this movie 15, 20 years later or whatever. And so this came out in 2009. So this was a 2019 article from The Independent out of England. And just the headline, I'll read the headline. The Hangover at 10, how the problematic comedy failed to stand the test of time.
Did Trent Kramer at this?
It's a guy named Ed Power. In Ed Power, he talks about, he's like, which scene is the worst? He's like, one where Bradley Cooper, where he says paging doctor. I mean, that part.
The F word.
Then Galifianakis pretending to jack the baby. And then he says, or the use of date rape drug is like a big plot point. And he just basically says there's some movies that age like fine wine. He's like, this is one of the movies that has aged the worst of all time. And I'm like, is that really true?
I think that's a wild take. I think the baby scene is not problematic. It's not like he's trying to do anything to the baby. He's pretending, and the baby's doing it himself. It's not like he's doing it. I think the date rape scene is just like perfectly like how dumb is fucking Alan, right? Like he's just a clown. He's not trying to take advantage.
He
of
didn't
anybody.
use the drug to
exactly.
rape them. He didn't use it
Right.
intentionally.
Yeah.
It was
And
an
he
accident.
He didn't have it because he had been doing a bunch of raping. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he thought he was being cool.
One more line. He says,
By the way, him calling them rapies it was one of the. I remember laughing so hard at that. He's like, "Why don't they call them flories?" He's like, "Rapies."
Bradley Cooper using the F word in 2014, like fucking that's shitty. But
Well,
I mean,
so that one's shitty for me on two levels, right? One is it's
unnecessary.
It's unnecessary in the sense that, like, you know, even if that's the funny thing to say, right? Like, we got to move past that. But it's like you could substitute in so much shit, and it's just as funny, right?
Yeah.
You know, paging Dr. Cockbag, you know, taking her butthole, you know,
Dr. Ballsack.
Ballsack. Every one of them is funny. The funny thing is like pretending to be on a loudspeaker and like paging a doctor with a funny name when the girlfriend's there.
Right.
Like that. So for me, I was like, okay, why? And I will say that, like, you know, Todd Phillips has made some comments about, like, in more recent times, about how you can't make funny comedies anymore because everybody gets canceled. Mm-hmm. And I, you know, like, I fall in the middle on this to some extent, right? I do think people are like a bit hyper about looking for things that, and this article is a good example. But I also think that Todd Phillips is full of shit, man. If you're clever, you can make funny movies.
be funny. How about you try being funny?
Yeah, I mean,
Punch up.
Hangover's really funny. And if you fix the couple of things that, like, people that I think some of them that were like this one that are rightly problematic, it's still fucking funny. One of the funniest movies I've ever seen. So, like,
and going back to this article, it just says there's one line here that I think kind of sums up this person's viewpoint. It says most problematic of all, of course, was the scriptwriters John Lucas and Scott Moore's message that within every boring middle-aged dude resides an unreconstructed frat boy waiting to burst free. I'm like, this isn't like a life lesson movie. This isn't like a roadmap for success or anything. It's just a stupid, crazy comedy, and you laugh your ass off. But I don't think anybody's going home thinking like, God, I want to be Stu when I grow up.
I want to go cheat on my wife or whatever. You know what I mean?
But even
dude.
that, right? Like I just think that like it washes away so much complexity because like it's not like Stu goes out and acts like a frat boy in the sense that like in the really negative like, you know, the worst caricature of that where you're just being demeaning and totally like punching down in every instance and doing so without any perspective, right? It's essentially what they seem to mean there is like you go out and you let loose a little bit. You do some crazy shit that you might be a little afraid to embarrass, but you didn't try to hurt anybody, right? You didn't go and like, I don't care who I affect. Like you just kind of cuts loose in Vegas, right? You go to a strip club. Okay. Like we can debate whether or not there's, you know, that's sort of always problematic, you know, but I think it's certainly not something that like makes him a terrible person that is obviously just like this sort of caricature. So I find some of those sorts of things like so simplistic that they don't pass the immediate smell test for me.
And unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, like who was saying, was it you, Scott, that was saying that like you can kind of identify with a lot of the, or was that you, Nate, that you were saying that like the part of it is that you can kind of identify with a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether you're identifying it because you see yourself in those characters or you identify because like you definitely had a buddy in 2010 that would say the F word on the loudspeaker. You know what I mean? You definitely had a buddy that would fucking do some problematic shit. You know what I mean? Whether you condone that or not, documenting it and having it in a movie, is that really terrible? Or is it just like, I don't know. I think there's a line there where it's like, yeah, you don't want to cross some things, but at the same time, like, are you going to make the movie unrealistic or are we, you know what I mean? I don't know.
No, I mean, I feel mixed about that.
So do I. I think it's a weird point.
But I definitely agree that there's whether you like it or not, right? There's relatability in the fact that like that existed, and
definitely
you relate to the sort of memory of it. I don't know. I really think that, you know,
it's a hyper like version of reality. It's not. I mean, nobody could watch this movie and think like this was reality. And I'll have some of my stupid body bags that are you guys going to be annoyed with in a little bit. But it's just like it's not reality. It's not supposed to be reality. But like you're saying, you can definitely connect and be like, oh, dude, I can imagine so and so acting like that or doing that or this or that. Or remember that time we got into that little incident. It's probably not on the same scale as this, but you're going to reminisce with your funny, crazy times with your friends.
Well, speaking of that, that's a great transition because I want to do something a little bit different with our next segment.
Pull up a chair and grab yourself a drink. We'll hypothesize what directors think. Maybe sometimes get a guess. Makes us look good. Let's drink, laugh, and pretend we know what we're doing. Drinking with the director, brought to you by Last Call Brewing.
That's the best part of that song.
So, as always, Last Call Brewing, who made some cool beers with us, sponsors this segment, and we should go around the table and talk about what we're drinking.
We haven't done a very good job of that.
Last Call, they fucking ran a hard bargain on their advertising deal.
Yeah, somebody in here, and I won't name any names, gave them essentially a lifetime sponsorship.
Yeah, it was tough.
And you know what? It's worth it, 100%. So, Scotty, what are you drinking?
You know what? I'm pacing myself, and I was trying to be good, but I decided to start drinking today. But I'm just drinking good old classic Bud Light.
Bud Light, blue can.
Blue can. It's very nostalgic for me. My first beer that my dad gave me a drink of was a Bud Light, and so I'm just kind of here's to my dad.
Love that feel to your dad, man. Brad, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a little hazy hypothesis from Last Call Brewing. This is one of their newest beers that they've created.
Had that one.
And it's a beautiful hazy IPA, 7%. It's just got a lot of just, that juicy, fruity flavor that you want out of a hazy IPA. It's available in cans or on draft at the Oakdale Last Call Tap Room.
What percentage of new beers coming out on the West Coast from craft, from like microbreweries, would you say are hazies right now?
High.
Everybody has hazies, and everybody
of the total number. Like, do you think it's more than 50%?
No,
seems like a lot.
I feel like it is.
And I think it's
certainly-
a good bet because they're all delicious. And if I go to the bar or go to the restaurant, I'm like, you got a hazy? And they fucking bring me a beer.
Last
and it's
Last Call
always
has 16 beers on tap right now, and I think 3 of them are hazy out of 16.
Really?
Oh,
You think
that's
so?
high percentage, do you think?
Yeah.
All right, never mind. I take back my fun point. Okay, Zach.
I think that what's standing out to you, Nate, is that 10 years ago there was no such thing as a hazy anything, and now
Right.
there is. Right? It was like you could get a Hefeweizen that happened to be hazy, but they didn't call it hazy. You know what I mean? I am drinking. Nate had a wedding at his house, and they left a keg of Modelo here, and I have been drinking it all afternoon. It's fucking delicious.
We need to get rid of that thing so we can put back some more craft beer. So.
I actually like it because I can have like 5 cups and feel
easy.
normal.
And then we are
Yeah.
coming into the summer. Get some
Yeah.
easy pool drinking.
Easy drinking.
All right. Okay, I accept. Okay, so I'm drinking my standard Diet Pepsi and grenadine. I've got that bottle out on the table here, just staring at that green. I still am looking for a grenadine partner, a little sponsor for the show.
Yeah, we gotta-
All I ask is 6 bottles free, and they get you a year.
Shit.
I feel like that's a good deal.
It's like a bargain for sure.
And we'll see if I can rope anybody in. So here's what I want to do, and not that I'm forbidding talking about the movie, but everybody I think here has been to Vegas, and everybody has kind of some favorite Vegas stories. Probably some of them we won't share on the pod, but
Right.
but I want to go around and each of us give our favorite or a couple of our very favorite Vegas stories, if you're willing. So who wants to jump in on this?
So I'll go first. So we go to bachelor party. Buddy of mine's getting married. I'm not affluent like I am now. No, I don't have any money. Like I have a low amount of money, and I'm going with some guys that have some money and are going to throw some money around. Not like have their own plane money like some people that we know, but like have some money. They got that Ammon money, you know what I mean? And so we go, we fly over there. Like one guy pukes on the plane ride over there in the plane, and like almost makes me throw up in the plane. We finally show up, and everybody's just, getting fucked up. Like one guy has we've been told that like you can't smoke weed in Vegas, right? And so like everybody wants to smoke while we're there because we're on a freaking bachelor party. So one guy like commits a federal offense and fucking puts a bunch of weed into a bag and then puts it into a peanut butter container and then mails it to the hotel. And then the day when we show up, walks up to the front desk and is just like, I have a package waiting for me, and they like hand it to him, and then we have like a peanut butter jar full of weed. It was like pretty much a pretty genius plan, I thought. We get up to the rooms, like the rooms are all freaking dope. And the fight that weekend was Manny Pacquiao versus the British guy.
Ricky Hatton.
Ricky Hatton. And fucking so the wild like thing there was like thousands of Filipinos and thousands of like Irish, English, fucking like singing the like, what do they call it? Like the soccer, like fight songs or whatever. Like they're just like masses of people going like, hey, Ricky Hatton, and like doing these like fucking chants and shit. And the vibe is just fucking buzzing, dude.
Like
and
soccer
everybody's
hooligans.
yes, exactly, like soccer hooligans, and we're just like jazzed up, and we have tickets to the fight. We're like all excited. We get to the fight, we're like fucking way up top, and fucking Pacquiao knocks his ass out, and like we're just like so amped and fucking ready to go, and it's gonna be amazing. And it ends up being like fucking, I think he knocks him out in like the 13th second of the second round or something like that, and then it's over, and we're just like fuck. And it was like this big letdown, and we leave. We go down, there's like pool party going on, and freaking there's like a line, and we all get in the line, and somehow like half of us get in, half of us don't get in, and it's Manny Pacquiao's after party. And fucking Tito Ortiz is there with Jenna Jameson and freaking all these celebrities. And not Tito Ortiz, but Manny Pacquiao has a Rock Band. You remember Rock Band, like the video game system? Mm-hmm. He has Rock Band set up and the microphone on a mic stand. And he does like a full set in the middle of this fucking party
Karaoke?
of like karaoke, dude, and just singing fucking Britney Spears and just wild ass songs, dude. And it was just an epic night. And we didn't have wristbands because we weren't supposed to be in the party, but we had like got in, and then like we got kicked out by security, and like one guy that's been a judge on our show threw rocks at the security guards, and they chased us through the thing, and it was just fucking ridiculous. So that was my Vegas part, and that was just night one, dude. Fucking ridiculous.
Great.
I'll talk about one thing, and for anybody out there that's listening that's not been to Vegas, you're gonna try to like think going into it, like, you know what, we're gonna pace ourselves. You know, we're here for 3 nights or whatever. You will not. Your first night, you will go balls to the wall because there's just no stopping that. Like, I don't know anybody who has the willpower to not their first night in Vegas, just go buck wild. So we got into town, and this is when I was pretty young again. And same thing, didn't have a whole lot of money in my name. Probably like maxed out my ATM for that night,
paying a bunch of money in fees every time you pull money out.
We were staying, we were staying like middle of the strip, and one of our friends, he was having a birthday like kind of celebration down at the MGM, so it was a walk. But we're fired up. First night in Vegas, fuck that, we're going down there. We go down there and we proceed to party and gamble, and I'm losing all my money on blackjack, and it's just a crazy night. And it's about 4:30 in the morning, and I realize I really, like, between me and my buddy, we have like $0 to our name. We're just looking at our wallets like, dude. And this is like pre like Uber and phones and paying for shit like that. So we're just like, dude, do we really have to walk all the way back to the MG? I mean, back to like where we were staying, like the middle of the strip. And we just started hoofing. It was like 4:30 in the morning. I think by the time we got there, the light was starting to come out and stuff. And it was just one of those, like, we lost our asses. We partied hard. And we're just on our way home now, and we just got nothing to our names.
It's weird how
it was the loneliest. There's like very few people on the strip at that point.
How long that walk is based on what you think. Like, you think, oh, you know, the pyramid here, the Luxor's here.
Yeah, everything looks close.
Everything looks super close until you've made that fucking walk.
Dude. Yeah,
and there was flip flops, and it's 112 degrees outside.
There was nothing exciting. It was just one of those just shameful, like basically like a walk of shame, just getting your asses handed by Miss Vegas.
Yeah.
It was no fun.
I have a very short one. I've had many drunken times in Vegas, and it's always fun. But there's one little story I always love to tell. And so we were there for a bachelor party, and we went to a strip club, Sapphires or whatever, and spend the night there.
What are the other names of the other strip clubs in Vegas?
Like there's Cheetahs and I don't know. I've only been to Sapphires. Anyway, I don't really go to strip clubs very often, Brad. So me and a couple friends, we end up, we're staying at this house off the strip and getting a cab to head home. And right when we get in, the driver instantly, he's like, "Why do you guys go here? Why do you guys go here?" I'm like, "What do you mean, why do we go here? I mean, why do you go to a strip club? Whatever." Yeah, well, we're here with the bachelor party and we want to see some girls. And he's like, no. Why? Just waste of money. It's a waste of money. I'm like, oh, well, yeah, okay, sure, but it's fun, whatever. He's like, no. You don't understand. Why you go here? We go, I don't know. It's a good place, And he's like, no. I take you right now. I take you someplace, and the girls play with your balls. And I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. I take you right now. We go. They'll play with your balls, and you spend less money. They play with your balls. And then we're like, oh, okay. Well, can I have your card? So we were obviously done at that point, but it was just so weird. He's like berating us at first. I'm thinking, like, he's judging us for going to a strip club. I was just like, no, I'll take you someplace where you get your balls played with.
Oh, I think those guys get a cut.
Oh, yeah. They make money for every person they bring up to those.
Oh, but it's so funny because after that, the whole weekend, we're just like, hey, let's go somewhere to play with our balls. It'd be great. I did not take him up on that offer, but
So I've got, I have so many Vegas stories, and the problem is, like, none of them are quite punchy enough on their own to have like a good, like, epic long one. Even though there's some long epic nights, we have this buddy whose name I won't say. His initials are AJ, one of our best friends, and he's absolutely like an epic dude. He's larger than life. And so we've been to Vegas with him on a couple stretches between relationships. So he's been single, and single AJ is like an absolute. I think once his brother described him as like a bull in a vagina shop. He's this big, like, strong dude. Like, he looks like he's like imposing. He's a super big personality. He's like genius level dude, really charismatic. So he's got this kind of this thing. So he just, and we're out doing whatever, and we like run into this group of girls that's there for a bachelorette, and so the bachelorette, the I think they're like bachelor and bachelorette there, but. So we're kind of outside in a casino, but outside one of the big clubs. And so he starts chatting, of course, with one of the bridesmaids, I think the maid of honor. And so he's like, come on, we're going to go into this club. And I'm like, what's happening right now? So we're in there with this whole bachelorette party, and we're kind of hanging out and dancing. And slowly, like most of the bachelorette goes away, but like it's clear that this maid of honor, who's like, boyfriend is apparently here as part of the bachelor party, but she's very interested in AJ. I assume that didn't end up working out, her and her boyfriend, because he tips one of the like bouncers, and we end up in like, this is like one of the hot clubs. We're in like one of the like VIP booths for $40. So we're overseeing it. Meanwhile, right, the bride is like getting way, way too trashed, right? So I'm just kind of like chatting, being friendly with her or whatever, and they're just like getting it, going after it in this, but not like having sex, but it's like, whoa, what's happening right now? So at some point, like it's clear we need to get the bride like back, to wherever she's just. So I kind of help her out, and he and this maid of honor walk out and head to the Uber or whatever, the cab, and we get him back to the hotel. And so he's like, dude, like I think I'm gonna take her back, and we're gonna go to the room, right? And so like they kind of go off, and I'm like, okay, well I'm gonna go gamble a little bit, and then like kind of. I'll just wait until like the coast is clear.
I'll waste time.
So I go gamble a while, right? Like I gamble for like maybe 2 hours or something, and then I finally go, and it's like late, and we got a flight the next day. So I go back to the room, and I can't, like I think they're in there, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bust in, whatever. So I lay down in the hallway, and I lay there, and I sort of try to sleep for 5 hours. It's 7 a.m. and I'm still like, what's going on, man? I figured they'd be out by now. So I'm just about to go in about 7:15. He comes rolling down the hallways. Hey, what are you doing, man?
They weren't in there?
They weren't in there at all. I could have been sleeping in a bed all night. So
that's very Vegas.
I was like, on no sleep.
All right, real quick speed draft. Biggest celebrity sighting in Vegas.
Oh shit.
Well, that's a toughie. I don't know.
You mentioned a couple already, Zach, in your story.
Yeah, I think Jenna Jameson would have to be my draft pick. Just because I've seen her in a lot of movies. Great actress.
Yeah.
Yeah, impressive resume.
Okay.
Okay.
Nate?
Oh man, I don't know if I've ever seen a celebrity there. Am I forgetting?
Okay.
I don't think I have. I think I'm 0 for here.
Yeah, the only thing I'm coming up with was I was working in advertising. I ended up at like these this award show thing. We had like backstage VIP tickets or whatever, and it was like this actor guy who was in Dodgeball, who was one of Ben Stiller's guys. And I was like, he was with us, and that's all I got.
Oh, I take it back. One of my like gifts to my wife for our wedding was that I was going to take her to Vegas and to see Boys to Men. They were at Residence.
So you saw the skinny guy?
So we go to Boys to Men, and we obviously see them in show, but that doesn't count. So then we're just like, I don't know why, hanging out outside or whatever. And then Wanye from Boys to Men, like one of the three main dudes.
Is he the skinny guy?
No, he's not. He's sort of short, stocky dude.
The good singer guy?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That sings in the rain, gets down on his knees.
Yeah. So he like rolls out like he's waiting for his ride, just like standing there outside the little venue, and we're like, that's Wanye right there. That's Wanye. So we kind of chatted him up a little bit and have a picture with him. That's my biggest. I count that. Even though he was in the show, like we talked to him. And,
Brad, you got one?
I got like a couple. One was just real quick. I briefly walked, like it was. I was at the Bellagio late night. There wasn't a whole lot of people there, and as I'm walking down one of the long hallways, like I can see at the end of the hallway, I'm like, that's a very big person. And as we get closer and closer, I'm like, okay, this guy is a giant. And I was like, oh, that's Patrick Ewing.
Oh shit!
Oh, Patrick Ewing's fucking.
He's a giant person. Yeah. And then the other one was my boys and I. We were going to a strip steak at the MGM, and a nice little steakhouse. And as we were standing there waiting, also waiting for his table was Dana White, and we talked to him for a while and chatted him up, and he gave us some restaurant advice. He's like, "Oh, dude, get the Kobe burger and have them cut it in fourths. It'll be like a great appetizer." I was like, "All right, thanks, nice. Dana White."
Bro, look at me. You see me? See what I look like? I'm in a meeting at work, right across. This guy sits down right across from me, and he just goes, "You look exactly like Dana White. Oh my gosh, you look exactly like Dana White." And I'm like, do you really think I look like Dana White?
I mean, it's a resemblance. Like,
I mean, I'm a bald white guy. I think it ends there. I don't know.
Got the
but
beard, like it's.
I chose to be
I can
offended.
see it.
I chose to be offended in that moment.
Actually, it's funny you brought that up because like there was one weekend when I was there many years ago before I was all gray in my beard, but I had the beard and
Santa Claus.
I was wearing beanies and I was in town the same weekend as the Country Music Awards.
Oh.
And I swear to God, because people have told me before, I look like Zach Brown.
Yeah.
And I was walking through the casino and people kept looking at me because I think people thought that I was Zach Brown
wow.
because the Country Music Awards were in town.
I can see that.
I can see that.
Yeah, it was really, really weird because I'm like, why the fuck people keep looking at me? Like, what the fuck's going on? And it was like during that time when like on Facebook where we were doing like doppelganger thing where you post a picture or whatever. Literally during that time, people saying, "Oh, you got to post Zach Brown picture for your thing." I was like, "Oh, it's fucking stupid." But yeah, so got a lot of looks.
My favorite thing about the Dana White was that we took a picture with him, and he's in the middle, and then it's like myself and my friend, and then two other friends on the other side. And when I showed my wife, my son was with me, and he was little at the time. He goes, "Who's that little guy in the middle?" It was Dana White because he's not that tall.
I'm glad you said that. I thought you were gonna be like, "Is that Zach?"
Speaking of little guys, I also stayed across the hall from Doug Flutie once at the Mirage.
Oh yeah.
And he and I came out the doors at the same time.
You
and I was
towered
like, "What's
over
up?"
him.
Dude, he's tiny. Very pleasant, but tiny. All right, what do you think?
I think that was fun.
I say we jump back to the movie with our next segment.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Sammy from Barrel Aged Chicks, and I'm here with Yen.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing, Yen?
I'm feeling amazing.
Yes, you are. Well, what we're here to do today is talk about where you can find Barrel Aged Chicks. You can find us on Google Podcasts,
Apple Podcasts,
Spotify,
Anchor,
and Good Pods.
Yep.
On the Barrel Aged Chicks, we have myself, Sammy. We have
Yen,
of course, and then we have Snow, Crystal, and Harley.
Yep.
We enjoy talking about everything from movies to being current moms to being just the ladies of the Barrel Age Flicks boys and their shenanigans in general.
Please join us without kids. Thank you.
Yes, our podcast is explicit content, so it is definitely not for little ears, but come out, let your hair down, and hear the chick side of things.
Whoop, whoop.
It's a shit show.
Please join us. We need some mom time.
Is it a one-night stand, or do you hit it with a shovel, or take it home to mom and dad? It's like fuck, marry, or kill. It's Shag Snack Body Bag.
Right before we get to Shag Snack, I got one quick question that we didn't handle in Drinking the Director, which was, who's the girl that sneaks out at the very beginning of the suite?
That's Heather Graham.
Is that
Heather
supposed to be Heather Graham?
Yeah.
That's
Yep. That's Heather Graham.
Why is she creeping out like she's like
She's gonna go get them coffees. She says it when she sees
She
them.
doesn't want to wake him up.
And she comes back with coffees, right?
Well,
or she's like, "Oh, I went to go
She
get you guys
says she went to go
coffee."
get.
She goes
That's
to
what
get
she
coffee.
says.
Yeah.
But they actually play it though, don't they? Play it like it's like a walk of shame, like she's trying to get out of there. Like
Well, that's
it
what
looks
you're
like.
supposed to think.
She was
right?
being quiet. She's
Yeah.
trying not to wake him up or whatever. She knew they had a crazy night. She was
okay, that's
thinking
I never could figure out. I
it
know
is
she
what-
said she went to go get coffees, but I didn't know if that was supposed to be her, if that was just some other
the
random
choice
girl.
of leaving her baby in the closet.
Yeah,
Not exactly the
weird
best
choice.
Yeah, I'm a little. Oh,
Does
boy.
Heather Graham? Is Heather Graham in a movie where she doesn't show her boobs? I don't. Think
I'm assuming
so.
there's
No,
God,
Most of the ones
she
I've
is.
seen.
There's not a lot of actresses where I mean, they like found a creative way to show her boobs in this one. It's like, I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they were like, hey, she's in the movie. We got to make her show.
She's like, guys, you hired me, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure my boobs. Like, what are we gonna do?
Maybe I can breastfeed.
Feed the baby.
Yeah,
okay?
exactly. It's just, I don't know. I just was thinking about it. She's often topless in movies, she's a good actress. I like her.
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
she actually, I think she's really great.
It feels like
Austin
an
Powers,
unnecessary
Spy Who
crutch.
Shagged Me. She's not.
And swingers, of course.
Yeah, swingers.
Okay,
There we
I
go, there's
stand
two.
corrected.
Yeah, I feel like it's you, not her. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Maybe you
I
just watch certain movies.
I was going to say maybe I just only watched it once.
All right, so we're shagging first, which means you want that like hit of you want that hit of it. You don't necessarily want it forever, but you want more of it. That rush. What do you think, Brad? Shag.
Well, my shag is really the pacing. It's like I don't think I've watched a movie that it hits just about every scene is pushing it forward and bringing it to like new levels of hilarity. It's like there's no like downtime where we have like some little B plot that's not that interesting. All of it is focused on this main plot, and all of it is just great fun times. I don't know. This is just a absolute masterclass of like pacing for a comedy.
Once
movie.
it starts, it just goes. And
Yeah,
there's
it gets once it
no
gets into
downtime.
gear, the pedal is to the floor, and you're just going with it and until it stops, and there's no time for like, oh, let's go have a little silly dramatic scene or like a little like they knew what they were doing. They're like, we're gonna just put the pedal down, see how fast this damn car can go until the wheels fall off.
All right.
Just the pacing. Yeah, I think they do a great job of that, and they kind of disperse the funny. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the funny is well dispersed through this movie. There's not like a really funny scene and then a bunch of lull.
American Pie is an idea of a movie where I feel like there's a lot of lulls. Like when you get like the some of like the singing and stuff. Like there's just some little things that it kind of.
It's like storyline shoehorned in where there doesn't really need to be.
And this movie was just like, no, fuck that. We're going full bore the entire time.
I love it.
I like that. That's a good pick.
I am going to shag the ending with the pictures, and I remember the experience of being in the theater, and you get to this point to where, you know, they're sitting there, and you kind of forget about the entire movie and what happened. You don't even realize that you want it. All of a sudden, he pulls out the camera, and you go, "Oh shit, we're about to see what actually happened," and that rush. And you're about to get to see it, and then just a master, amazing end of a movie is showing those pictures and showing you what happened, how it unfolded. And I just remember being in the theater, just being so happy without even thinking I needed it, and they delivered, and I loved it.
Well, in 2009 is an interesting point because it's the right transition because everybody would have their phones and pictures, so you can't necessarily do the movie like maybe even
you
2
can't make
years
that
ago.
today, yeah.
Because everybody would have had, let's just look at our phones and look at our data. Where were we spending our money?
Instagram Live, and like we have it all right here. Yeah.
So the fact that it's like a digital camera that's very 2008, 9ish.
So I'm shagging high impact, like bit parts. So think about, we got Ken Jeong, right, who is just in a couple of scenes and it's like he is throwing 110. Like it's incredible how quickly he comes in and then just dominates. Rob Riggle and his
not in here.
The cop, right?
The cop duo, right?
Yeah.
Those two come in and are like that one little scene is, I mean, maybe it's one of these things, you know, you talk about like this player would be like the best player on any other team. That scene is the funniest scene in 95% of comedies. And it's like the 15th funniest scene.
Yeah.
Maybe not the 15th, but it's not in the top 5.
Even the guy at the chapel, Eddie or whatever, he's
so funny.
Yeah, he's so good.
Brian Callen,
Brian Callen is great.
He's got a good bit.
Tits out to here, you know.
So there's
He's nice.
This fucking guy. This guy is so crazy, man.
Black Doug, right? Just comes in and it's so funny. So I think that there's like, in a movie that has this much of an ensemble already as the main characters, you still get like, it makes room for these like quick hitters that are just, I think that's for me, honestly, what takes the movie over the top is like, you can only get so much mileage even out of a really funny trio like you get here. But when you add 3 or 4 people coming in and just like killing it, then the movie goes to a whole other level.
I love the director cameo, which is
Todd Phillips.
Getting on the elevator, and the elevator's taken, and they're like, "Shut up!"
He's going up, guys.
Going up. He's like, "Oh, so are we?"
That's good. Yeah.
They get in, just his look though when he's like,
So
"Gosh, dang, he's
annoyed.
so upset."
He looks the outfit and everything looks exactly like his like cameo in Old School too.
Yeah.
If you notice that. I'm here for the gangbang. All right, what are we snagging?
But did everybody?
No, I didn't shag
He
yet.
didn't shag.
No, I thought you shagged.
I mean, it's quick, and I want to say like a bunch of people, but I think the person that really kills it and is like fucking so perfectly cast in this is Ed Helms as like the freaking
I agree.
beaten down man that's just like so like
It's an archetype.
he is so perfect, and his look and the way that he acts is like, he's great in The Office and he's funny in The Office, but I think his like his part that he plays in this movie is just so perfectly cast.
Well, him on the phone, like trying to convince
I know.
her they're
You
in Napa.
You would love this place.
Yeah,
And just,
it's so cute. It's so quaint.
There's just nothing more like
it's goats.
It's goats. It's not a baby. It's a goat.
it's fucking so funny, dude. And he's hilarious throughout the thing, and I just think perfectly cast. And he's probably, besides Galifianakis, he's probably the funniest part of this movie to me.
I totally agree. What are you snagging?
So I'm gonna snag Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Like, just I have to. I am such a fan of his. One of the greatest nights of my just life was, and I'm not even exaggerating, was the night I was driving home from work. I was living in Los Angeles, and my roommate Ralph sends me a text. He's like, "What are you doing tonight?" I'm literally stuck in traffic. I'm like, "I got nothing." And he's like, "I'm in line right now at Largo in LA. Zach Galifianakis is here." And this was before The Hangover. So like we had seen him on TV, saw him on Conan or whatever. I'm like, fuck, I'm going right there. Went, got in line. We had amazing seats, and the small little club called Largo. I think they've expanded to a bigger one now, but here we are sitting there, and we got to see Zach Galifianakis, and he absolutely was the funniest motherfucker I've ever seen. It was so fucking great. And at the end of the show, he does this great, we're laughing our ass off, and at the very end, he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Fiona Apple." All of a sudden, Fiona Apple comes out of the crowd, jumps on a piano, bangs out a song.
Did he have the piano on stage
Piano's
too?
on
And he
stage.
was doing his
He
piano
does his
bits,
little piano bits.
and then she came out and played piano.
Oh, wow.
She came up, that's how he ended the
sick,
show with
dude.
Fiona Apple. Because they're like friends in real life. And so great. And so I love him because, like I said, it felt like I'd kind of discovered him in a way, because I don't like being that guy where like, hey, I knew him when, but I was rooting for him so hard in this movie.
I get that.
And sitting there and seeing him be so funny.
Yeah.
It felt great because I'm going, oh my God, the world is going to know him now. And that's awesome.
The delivery on some of this, I mean, even early, right? Like, he's like, well, maybe before 9/11. Thanks to the like, I'm on the floor. Like, just
Thanks a lot of Osama bin
perfect
Laden.
delivery.
Yeah.
But good stand-up does not always translate to good in movies,
Exactly.
right? Or good acting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's perfect. Yeah.
I didn't know they gave rings at the Holocaust.
Oh my God. That line is so great.
Deadly.
So good.
All right, what are you snagging, Zach?
I got a question. Like, are those like, that's Galifianakis, right? I mean, those can't be in the script. Like, that shit's not in the script.
But that's
He has to be
that's a
ad-libbing
prop
that shit.
But that has to be set up. That's a joke that has to be set up. So
Yeah, some of it's there.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
some
know.
of
I
it's
feel like
there.
maybe they had a line and he was like, let me do 5 more and we'll see which one's the funniest. So if I'm going to snag something from this movie, it's what? It's my t-shirt. It's what Nate talked about earlier, and it's R-rated comedies.
Yeah.
Right? I really dig like irreverent, over the top jokes that are fucking cross the line and just really, really funny shit like that. There's not many sort of PG comedies that I think are absolutely hilarious unless they're old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only comedies I really like now is probably because I'm an adult or whatever it is, but I just fucking, really connect with those more. So I love, and they don't, maybe Todd Phillips is right. Maybe they can't make funny movies anymore, or they're just not fucking trying. Like I feel like they could make some funny movies, but there's not a lot of comedies coming out lately. You know what I mean?
Maybe they're afraid to make them now because they don't want to get canceled.
But are they coming out? Like, I just don't feel like they're making them anymore.
I'm trying to think of the
feel like
last one that I was like, this is really, really funny.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many.
I'm sure someone will correct us, I hope. Brad, what are you snagging?
We already kind of talked about it, but going to a movie with no preconceived notions.
Oh, yeah, that's a
and
great
Zach, you were talking about that, like you had the opposite effect.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
And that was the same with me with Superbad. Like Superbad was one of those movies that I didn't see at the theater, and it got pumped up. And then when I went and first saw it, I felt like it was a letdown. I was like, this isn't
So
as
you
good.
expected it to be the funniest shit ever. Yeah.
Eventually, I came back to it and hit it a few more times. I was like, okay, wait, this is really, really, really funny. So yeah, getting to see Hangover just randomly
Cold.
opening weekend and like
Awesome.
with nothing, not any of it at all in the zeitgeist yet. It was
Yeah, because you couldn't have had it spoiled for you because you saw it right when it came out, which is fucking tight though. There's something to be said for that because you would have heard about some of the shit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to go blind. Yeah.
And that's the thing is like I don't know why we decided to choose that movie because I remember not really knowing anything about it except there's this comedy movie that I've seen a couple previews for that look Kind of silly.
Yeah, and it's not like Todd Phillips is necessarily a household name. It's like, hey, I'm going to go watch the new Todd Phillips movie.
Right.
And I wasn't a big old school fan or anything like that. So
Yeah.
like it wasn't really necessarily something that I was like, oh, this is going to be kind of like this guy did this. So
So I'm going to snag Vegas. And I hate to, sort of like rip off the constantly used line, but Vegas is a character in the movie, right? And I don't think the movie, I'm not saying the movie can't happen somewhere else. Like you throw this movie into, I don't know, New York City. Okay, maybe it works. You know, like you can still have a lot of it, but
there's something about Vegas.
There's something about Vegas that like is the perfect setting for it, and it makes the movie feel like oddly believable in a way that like it can't be. It's not believable. It's over the top. But the like exaggeration allows you to stay just close enough to reality because, as we talked about in the last section, right? Vegas just kind of generates some crazy stuff. There's some crazy stories, things that you think like, it would never happen, and it happens.
When was the whole Vegas ad campaign? What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Was that before, during, after this? I was trying to remember when that happened.
Before.
I think so too, because Jeffrey Tambor has one of the best lines in this whole movie, which is "Remember what happens in Vegas," and Justin Barth is like, it's like. Except for herpes, that she'll come back with you. God damn,
such a good delivery,
such a great line. Jeffrey Tambor is one of those guys that
again, like a sneaky little
funny.
part,
one of those small parts,
funny, and a little bit of like what I said at the beginning, which is, it's like the father-in-law that wants to be kind of cool. He's a little bit like, it's like you kind of know that guy,
and he even says when she's worried about them, comes like, hey, somebody's probably on a heater, and you don't mess with a heater.
You don't mess with. You never leave. You never walk out on a heater.
Yeah.
All right.
Brad's wondering why they went and saw The Hangover, and the movies that were in the theater at that time were Night of the Museum. So he had to pick between The Hangover, Up, Night at the Museum.
Oh, dude, but Up.
How did
Brad's all over.
You know why he didn't go see Up?
He probably already saw it.
He'd already seen it.
Yeah, because he saw it was in the second week.
He saw the 1 o'clock matinee.
Okay.
The Hangover, Up, Night at the Museum, Land of the Lost, Imagine That, and Star Trek. And he's like, what movie are we going to go see? Fucking The Hangover.
Of course.
That's the reason.
So had you seen Up the week before? Is that why there was?
Because Up was in its second week when Hangover debuted, so you'd already seen it in the theater.
I saw opening weekend as well. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Had you just stopped crying?
Well, that's going to say that's funny that I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I probably have never cried as hard as I have in the theater, and I've never laughed as hard.
2009, that was a big year for you.
Man, it was.
Up
It was
and The
special.
Hangover.
All right, what are you body bagging, Zach?
Oh, I've talked about it ad nauseum. I won't belabor the point. I want to see what happened during the night, and I'm pissed that we didn't get to see it. Somebody else go.
Yeah, I'm hard to disagree on that one because I love the way they did it. So.
I
I like the leaving it to the imagination.
I don't like
and
that.
then reveal.
I want to see that shit.
I'm gonna body bag the scene that was just it was hilarious. It was funny, but I just can't help but think it was just so dumb. And this might be one of Brad's. He's got some nitpicks. I think the whole tasing thing. I mean, there's no way that those cops are gonna let them off the hook because they get to fucking tase them. And even though as amazing as that scene was,
met cops?
It's hilarious. Well, you're kind of a cop.
We should ask
you let me
Lieutenant
off?
Dan because I feel like that he's gonna have a different answer. To
Did you look at my screen when I was gone?
No, I did not. Do you have
funny.
that in there?
My body bag is the police station scene.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Okay, and you said it earlier. You said that scene is like funnier than like 95% of movies, which is probably
It's funny.
true on its own. It is funny, but I just don't think it fits with the movie. Like it's why are there kids at whatever time this is at the police station? They're letting them tase people. Like it's a little.
I'll tell you what,
It's
though.
a little over the top.
It's a little too
much.
It's a little too much. It went a little too far for me.
The-
But it's still funny, and Rob Riggle's great. And it's just, I think it's just a little touch too far.
The little kid when he kicks the phone.
That is great.
The
That
look on
look.
his face. That kid is amazing, and I wish that kid
Oh, just when
all the
he's walking
success in the world, whatever he's doing right now, because that look made me laugh.
Well, then
I
when he
love
gets
that kid.
chosen and he's walking
Yeah.
up there and he's giving him those eyes like, as he
Mad
walks.
dogging him?
Little tilted head. Yeah.
So I really wanna body bag Stu's fiance, girlfriend, whatever.
Please do.
Yeah, we haven't hit that too hard.
Because she's just terrible, and because all the people, all the significant others who are willing to make you tell you that even the way that you are and the way you feel and the things you think are like wrong. Like I'm all the way out on those people. But I think the thing I have to body bag most of all here is ever thinking it's a good idea to go to Vegas for your bachelor party the night before your wedding.
The timing is just absolute dog
is
shit.
going on. Like, and I've heard, I mean, it's funny because like it seems like a movie thing, except I've heard of people doing this kind of thing.
That close in proximity?
I've heard of this kind of thing happening, and I'm like, you are insane. Maybe not the night before. I don't think I'm sure I've heard of that, but
I think this was
like
it was,
they had to
2
stay
nights
one
before
extra
they had
day.
one extra day. But still.
Even still, like, but I mean, that's exactly like I've heard of people doing it for like 2 or 3 nights before, and I'm like, are you crazy? Like, this is the terrible decision of all terrible decisions.
Am I wrong? Like, aren't rehearsal dinners like a common thing?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So exactly. Like, yeah, you're going to go the night before your rehearsal. Like, you're going to be wrecked. Like, I as the older I get, the more I'm like, you cannot go to Vegas for more than 2 nights, or you're just dead. Like, that's it. Like, even one night and then trying to go back for a rehearsal dinner.
The caveat there is if you are a normal, like, married person with kids who has a life and a job that you have to come home to, like, if you're a single dude and you go to Vegas for 4 days and you just wreck your body and life, you get to go home and you fucking, it's whatever, right? But, like, if you have to come back and be responsible for shit and get up with your kids at 5 a.m., like, fuck, dude. You're never going to recover.
You'll never recover. Yeah.
Since Scotch kind of got on my body bag, I have a second one there.
Okay.
And again, it goes with the whole, like, reality of it. Like, they come back from this whole situation and the wedding happens and things. I know they're still like they basically hit the wedding and then so we don't get to see a whole lot of the aftermath. But that car's fucked. There's a lot of just shit damage in that hotel room.
Yeah.
There's like what happened with that suite? That somebody's getting a giant bill.
Well, Stu put it on his card.
Yeah.
Right, but like there's some major aftermath and Jeffrey Tambor is just I mean, maybe it's just how rich people live or whatever.
Well,
but
he winks at him. He's like, Vegas.
He's so chill about just like, yeah, Vegas, you fucked up the car. And like, oh, you guys might have just demolished an entire suite. And that's probably going to cost a lot of money, but it was Vegas.
Tambor's got fuck you money, dude. I mean,
I think that
house is pretty nice.
I think that's the weird thing is like, if you have this movie without the fuck you money or like a dentist's money, like, it makes it a little bit different.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily live it up like they did.
It's hard to fuck anything up that bad when you bring $200 and that's all you have.
Yeah, you can't even pay.
You
for
dream
this.
big,
You
Zach. You dream big. That $200 is going to turn into $8,000.
And you think it's going to happen in the first 15 minutes, and that's how you have to walk back to your fucking hotel.
That's right.
All right. Let's see what we got next.
Crackle, Pluto, HBO, find anime on Crunchyroll, Peacock, Hulu, Disney, Netflix, Tubi, Sling TV, Shudder, Fubo. What the fuck is Fubo? I'm sure it'll cause a sensation. It's a streaming recommendation.
Scott just did the air drum roll, reminiscent of Mike Tyson doing the air drum roll.
All right. What are you streaming?
Punch somebody,
Zach.
Pick on somebody else because I got to figure out where it's streaming.
What are you streaming, Scott?
To me, it just I gotta stream some Zach Galifianakis. He has a special.
Is he good in anything else? Any other movies?
Well, it's not a movie.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna recommend Zach Galifianakis Live at the Purple Onion, which is his first stand-up special. It's fucking hilarious. It's so good. It's kind of weird because he does this other character, which is his brother. And he's got this accent. And he's like, doesn't have the beard. He's got the mustache. He's being interviewed by this other comedian guy. I can't think of his name. And it's just odd and weird, but it's just really great and super entertaining. It's only on YouTube right now for $2.99. So if you don't want to pay money for that, which I recommend you do, just spend an evening just watching YouTube clips of Zach Galifianakis between two ferns or something.
Yeah.
And just get ready to have a great time.
Did you see the one I was watching Michael Cera and him on there?
So awkward.
Oh my god,
so
dude!
awkward.
Him and Paul Rudd, dude. There's so many and they're so funny.
Between Two Ferns is just so brilliant. So the Bradley Cooper one is actually really funny too.
Even the super manufactured ones like Clinton and Obama are still pretty damn funny.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now you got it, Zach?
Yeah. So if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, I mean, I feel like this is a cop-out, but I was trying to think of like the last movie that really fucking bowled me over. Like I had the experience like Brad's talking about where you didn't have any expectations and you watched it in the theater and you're like, this is the funniest fucking movie I've ever seen. And that was Forgetting Sarah Marshall on Amazon Prime. I've talked about it so many times. It's not a great recommendation because you all know I love it if you listen to the show. But if you don't, go fucking watch that movie. It's so goddamn funny, and it is original and fucking hilarious.
All right. What do you got, Brad?
Mine is a rental recommendation, unfortunately. So you're thinking about the old days of Blockbuster. You're going to rent this movie on whatever streaming service you like. It is Very Bad Things.
I knew you were going.
I knew someone was.
I had to go there. It's Vegas. It's a bunch of guys going to Vegas for a bachelor party, and it ends a lot worse than The Hangover.
A lot worse.
If you're looking for funny, there is funny in it, but pretty soon the funny turns to a little bit different. And I feel like Christian Slater is kind of like the Bradley Cooper of the group, like the very much like kind of like the leader. And Christian Slater puts on a tour de force and Very Bad Things.
All right,
check it out.
Good pick.
I'm gonna take a movie that I consider Very Bad Things' little sister, which is called Rough Night. Not a lot talked about, but
Never
it's
even heard of it.
a bachelorette party.
Oh,
the movie
shit.
stars Scarlett
Johansson. Yeah, she has short hair.
Kate McKinnon, Zoe Kravitz, Lana Glazer. It is actually really funny.
Never seen it.
Dude, it's worth. I'm not gonna I don't overhype it. It's not, it's not gonna it's not one of the best movies I've ever seen, but it's funny, and it's a good, solid bachelorette movie. I believe so.
Yeah.
Zach just tried to spoil it.
I didn't want to spoil it.
But it's really funny and it worth a watch, and the cast is just incredible. So definitely check out Rough Night if you like The Hangover. All
Or if you like Very Bad Things. Sounds like a very kindred spirit.
Kind of in the family.
No jet wash for Maverick, Meg still on that goose stick. Iceberg list Titanic, Leo's drawing that nude shit. Jim fucks Nadia like we all thought he should. Ricky and Doughboy get the fuck out the hood. Luke hooks up with Leia just like he's intending. It's time for a reshelf and alternate endings.
So I just want something terrible to happen to Stu's wife. Like, can we, something just really bad, like some sort of maybe some mutilation.
Wow.
I want her to be hurt. Maybe. Anyways. And the obvious, that's, I don't really have anything. That's just like this movie's pretty good and pretty tight. Like Brad said, great pacing. Obviously I would love to have the prequel where I always said that it would be funny to do a Wet Hot American Summer type deal where the actors are all older, but they never address it, and they do it as a prequel to The Hangover, and we get to see everything that happens that night. That would be my move.
Well, if you want something bad to happen to Melissa, that was her name, right? Melissa?
I think so.
I believe so. Yeah.
And I was thinking, you know what? They decided to bring Heather Graham and little Carlos back just on the way back. They're like, we're going back to the wedding, and Stu's like, fuck it, I don't care. I really like this girl. She's coming with me. And so they jump in the car and they get to the wedding, and Melissa's there, and she's like, who the fuck is this? And she's just ranting and doing what she would normally do. And he's just like, calm down. And Heather Graham just kind of being nice, like, oh my gosh, this is why I shouldn't be here. I should leave. And then she's like, oh, you're gonna raise that fucking stupid, ugly baby. And then all of a sudden, Zach Galifianakis is like, don't you talk about Carlos. And he comes up and just clotheslines her onto a table and just breaks through a table. And so,
love it.
So she gets just knocked out. And then the wedding goes on as planned.
I enjoy that a lot.
I love it. I really don't have a good alternate ending. I mean, is it possible that Chow is a vampire? I don't know.
I think that makes the most sense by far.
I think Chow jumps out of the trunk naked with his fangs out.
He would just immediately start burning.
That's right. And then he burns up. And,
I like it.
And we move on.
I will say,
about
in this pod, we did not give him enough love to all of Chow's his little comments, just all his little, one-liners when he's rolling up the window.
He's really not in the movie as much as I thought.
Oh, man.
The rolling up the window one is the one little thing I didn't really like because it's just a little over the top. He's like, motherfucker, whatever. I thought it was kind of silly.
Just the little spray with the jerkin spray.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Which is something that Matt Brown likes to do to me on stage sometimes. At our shows, he'll do the little jerk and
little what's that called? A mungu?
The mungu.
He flings the mungu at you.
Yeah. Air mungu.
Great name of a band.
Air mungu.
That's the sequel to Air Bud.
You just about got a spit take on Scotch's computer. That was awesome. That was very close to just
Really close. Really close.
All right. I think that wraps us up, man. I feel like you could talk for hours about the Hangover.
Yeah, you can
so
talk for a long
fun.
time about
But-
that. Vegas. Fun shit.
It's good stuff.
It's something that, like I said, if you haven't watched it in a while, throw it on. I don't think you'll be disappointed, like Ed Power from the Independent says, because it's just still funny.
It's so good.
I don't know how you could be offended, except for like
Well,
I
people
said,
can find shit to be offended about everything these days. So
I don't know.
whatever.
If you thought it was funny once, you should think it's funny still. Because
There's offensive shit.
things aren't that
most of it is like
I'd say it holds up a lot better than a lot of movies, even from that era. A lot of hard comedies. I think it ages better than those.
Well,
by a
let's
lot.
get a real quick comparison. Wedding Crashers. I mean, we did Wedding Crashers on the pod. It's like Wedding Crashers is definitely aged a little worse.
I think so. Even and Superbad, has
Yeah.
aged worse, and it's a
that's
similar
true.
era. Okay,
So what's going on next week?
So next week we're drafting.
Oh, boy.
And we are going to draft the most memorable Vegas scene in a movie. And we have our friend the Gov back on
Yeah.
to judge us harshly.
See if we can keep your little fucking win streak going.
You know what? I'm feeling good about it.
the gubernatorial candidate.
That's right.
Yeah, 2 wins. That's kind of wild.
I fucking hate it.
0-2 very quickly.
I'd say that this is really just finally the universe correcting itself.
Is that what it is?
Back
So
to
you're
its
going to
normal
go on
state.
like just like a 5, 6, 7, 8.
Just I'll tear. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Nate
you heard
didn't-
it here first.
Nate didn't verbalize it, but he's going with the Costanza method, and he's going against everything that he actually wants to pick, and he's actually had some success.
I can't tell you what I'm doing.
He's like, I'm going to just pick the exact opposite of what I want.
All right,
boy.
folks, listen, tell your friends about us, text it to them, subscribe, follow us on, we love to interact with you. So comment on stuff on Instagram and Facebook. We will respond. Send us messages, send us emails at bezvideokingdom@gmail.com.
Yeah, we haven't said that in a while.
Yeah, we're-
Reactivate your Facebook account and follow us.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're gonna say goodbye, but we'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.